And John, as we've mentioned, you know, he is, of course, all of the other miners are from Chile. He is the sole Bolivian who has just been there for a very short time, in actual fact, and found himself trapped underground and has sworn he will not return as a miner, and understandably so.
It's one of the extraordinary things as we watch all this. We have seen the faces of these miners, and many of them are middle-aged men. They've been in the mines. They've had more than their share of adventures and mishaps in that very dangerous line of work. This man, Carlos Mamani Solis, is just 23 years old, one of the youngest of the men trapped underground, and certainly one of the least experienced. This was all very new to him. Extraordinarily, really has suffered probably as bad as things can get underground and still survive. And survive he has. He is rescued miner number 4, about to emerge from the Phoenix capsule. Well, as we can see on screen, there's a woman and the president of Chile awaiting his arrival.
Yeah, and you know, his own president of Bolivia, Evo Morales, as we heard from Fanula there, has promised that he will offer all the support he can after this rescue, because these are very difficult times. All of the world's attention on these men as they come to the surface. The big problem a lot of the time after these sorts of rescues is that a lot of them expect that this is going to continue, and it doesn't. For a lot of them, they sort of disappear into the background, although I would suspect that this won't be the case for these gentlemen. But it's a very difficult time for them, even though they've been through all of this underground. The ordeal is not over at this point. It will continue.
Now, as we watch, keep in mind, we're bringing these pictures live from Copiapó, Chile, which is now probably the most famous mining town in the world, and Camp Hope, the informal community that's been set up around it. But his sister is watching on the left of your screen. His sister is watching a live television broadcast from Bolivia as well. Each one of these men is coming up with a different look on their face, a different physical posture. No smiles so far, just a sense of fatigue.
But a hero's welcome, look at that. And we're seeing all the different types of personalities, the extroverts, the introverts, some of them dealing with this very, very different ways. There he is, the big hug. It's just fantastic to see these families reunited after 2 months apart. They have watched and waited for their loved ones to come to the surface, and here we are now, all witnessing this right across the globe.
If you're just joining us, you probably know what you're seeing. We have been reporting on this extraordinary ordeal for 68 days now. Miners trapped underground in a remote corner of Chile longer than any men who have been through this kind of calamity and survived are now being brought up one at a time. You're looking at the 4th of the miners now breathing fresh air and seeing his loved ones for the first time in more than 2 months. That's the president of Chile, who's made this very much a personal campaign. He's been involved in a very personal way, putting his own popularity on the line to draw his whole nation into this rescue effort. And it has succeeded, I think, by any measure, and probably more so than many people might have hoped.
And of course, what happens now, as we see, he is wearing these glasses that they all will need to wear when they come to the surface to protect their eyes, having been underground for 68 days. They have to be very careful about that. They're going to be scrutinized. Medical checks will take place. They will have to go to a hospital for a minimum of 2 days to be checked out to make sure all their vital signs pan out the way they should at this point. Of course, it's the first time so many have stayed underground for this length of time. So these men are really, in essence, a study for a lot of scientists and a lot of people with medical backgrounds.
On a much more superficial level, you might notice that he looks pretty good. He looks pretty clean. In fact, they all have. The miners benefited, even at the worst of their ordeal, from a natural spring which brought them running water. They were able to bathe in it. They requested and received shampoo and obviously razors. These men are coming up looking remarkably well, considering everything that they have been through. There was some concern that the journey itself would be an ordeal. There was enormous concern that the men would grow nauseous, that the trip inside that capsule would be twisting and turning and bumpy and hard on them physically. No indication that that's happened. The trip seems to have been a very brief one up, maybe 15 or 17 minutes per miner, and the men seem to have come up with really not much worse for wear after everything they've been through. I think that's one of the surprises, is how hardy all of them look. Tough Chilean miners, or in this case, a tough young Bolivian, emerging now, going to be studied and poked by medical specialists, but looking remarkably well for men who spent so much time wondering if they would even survive.
Yeah, and so looking here at Carlos Mamani Solis, a Bolivian, as you say, John, the only non-Chilean among